Hello, happy day. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Christy. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I am ready for, the rain to kind of subside and the sun to come out.
Yes, likewise. Austinites can handle only that much rain.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yep,
we live here for the sunshine, right?
yeah, yep. Yep.
Well, I want to dive right in. I want everybody to hear about you and learn about your background and what you're all about. So please, can you let us dive right in?
Absolutely. Let's jump right in.
Okay, great. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Arpi Shah. I have been in Austin since 2013. In Belterra, actually, since 2013. I'm an engineer by profession and by degree. But last year, I took a break from work because I had enough of it, and I decided to, just take some time off and figure out if I, what I've been doing for like a while, if I want to keep doing that. And so it took me a year and an entire COVID, time frame to figure out that that's not what I wanted to do after all. But I figured out that I wanted to kind of, pivot the work that I've been doing. And so now I'm in a slightly different role, still in the technical field, but, still in doing something different, and literally starting from grounds up again. And I think that's the most interesting part of my past year. It's something that I have no idea about, and I kind of was very open about it, and I think people who hired me were okay with it too, I guess. And so that's where I started work wise. But the other interesting part of my last year, and since I quit my job, was starting a charity called called Dona-eat, where basically it's been a journey there. What I wanted to do with Dona-eat was really be able to contribute in some way to donating money and raising money for charities. But I had to dig deep down into the skill sets I have to be able to do that. And with it turned out at the time, my son had a femur fracture, and so I was pretty much homebound, and I couldn't really do anything, go outside or volunteer or whatever. This was obviously pre-COVID, and so I decided that the only way I can contribute in that moment was by cooking. And so I figured I will cook, and if people find it edible, they they can come donate. They donate money for it, and they take as much as they like. And whatever donations I raise, I basically pick a different charity every week and I donate there. So that was an extremely scary thought when I kind of thought it all out. But the more I kept thinking about it, the more I realized I sort of had to get it out of my system more than anything else. And so this one fine October morning, I was like, I just have to try it. It's not I would regret if I don't do something like that. And so I just posted it on our community, Belterra community page. And the response, to say the least, was overwhelming. I was just amazed at what a beautiful community we live in. That one is open to like wacky ideas like mine, but also very, very supportive. And honestly, I haven't looked back since then. Like since October 2019, every week I have been cooking meals and raising money for different charity. Like I think last year in 2020 alone, I think we basically donated to like 25 charities. And the amounts are not consistent because, like people donate what they want.
Yeah.
And so there's, amount wise, it's not a big deal. For me, the bigger deal is to be able to reach out to all these charities and be able to contribute in the only way I could at the time. And that has been so powerful and so, so gratifying. I did not expect such a response. And I did not expect that it would be so much more fulfilling for me more than anybody else. And that's what has been, I've learned to trust myself and be okay to, speak about the random ideas that pop out of my mind. And I think I have not been the same person since then. And that I am extremely grateful for, our Belterra community for that. That, for somebody who has no idea how it's all going to work out, it did for a year and a half now. So it's extremely impressive for me, myself.
Wow. Yes. I feel like community makes such a big difference. And I love that you said that you feel like you got the most out of it. I love that you said that, because there's so many people who have this idea of, if I'm doing something, these other people who I'm helping should get the most out of it. There's that whole, gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of the,
it's more of the, I think, like the expectation that, others are going to be happy. I mean, that's what I started off with. I mean, it was not an easy journey. Like there would be weeks when I would, the food would be like completely gone in like 20 minutes. And then there would be days where like for 3 hours, nobody would show up. And in the beginning, that was extremely, I was like disappointing because I was like, well, did they not like the food? Or did they not like, this or that? Like, and I couldn't figure out what that was. And then over a period of doing that regularly, I was like, as long as there's like 0 person coming to pick up the food for like a month, I'm going to keep doing this. And it was just the fact that I kept doing it, that it taught me so much about myself. Like, you kind of think like, when people praise your effort, right, it boosts your ego, I mean, to say the least. And it's not a lot of people can recognize that, but I did. And I was like, well, I'm not doing it to boost my ego. I'm doing it because it's satisfying for me, and I'm doing it for my own satisfaction. So I should not, like, if people don't show up, that's fine. I will keep trying. I'll do it again next week. And if people show up, great, that works. I'm raising money for charity. That's my end goal. And so to be able to get past my demons, I think that was the best return of investment, if you will, that I got, from a start, from something that I thought is going to help others. It's actually helping me so much more than I ever expected it to be.
Yeah, I love the perseverance there. And it's so hard for us to, let go of our egos. That's just human nature. You want to hang on to it. But then you learned like the beauty of being able to let go and say, okay, this is what it is. And, and I also think too, like, this is just, me and my, like, I think the world is a beautiful place. Like, I think that it's so amazing that you're bringing this food so everyone else can be exposed to it too. Like, this is not something that I would say that a lot of people, know how to cook easily or regularly, or, you're giving like, you're giving like on so many different levels, right? And so another thing as well that's really, really neat.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that was kind of very intentional, where I was like, okay, stuff that is available in the restaurants, yes, people are going to try that, right? But stuff that's, like very authentic to what I cook every day in my meals, right? Or, to my friend, when I visit my friends' places, stuff that nobody knows about. It's a big part of who I am. And so it had like, I mean, that's who I am, and that's what I'm going to share. And so that's, like, that's where all these really crazy items that nobody has ever heard of, including me, at times I was like, oh, I've heard about this, but I've never made it, and so let's try and see, and if it's edible enough, I'll put it out again. And so it's been a journey for me, just as much as it is for everybody else. And so, like, yeah, just like a lot of items, I'm like, really, like, how is it that these places, all these, popular restaurants don't have it? And because it's such a big part of our culture, like every day, or every week, my mom cooks it, my mother-in-law cooks it, I cook it on a daily basis. um, I'm just bringing out what I have, and what was a part of me growing up, and that's all I'm sharing. And so I think that's where acceptance and diversity comes in, where you kind of like, okay, this is the poster child of the things that are obviously like out in the open, but then there's these other layers that we never talked about or never knew about, that we're getting exposed to. And it's likewise for me too, right? Like, I mean, other places too, like, I mean, other recipes and things of that sort, like, I'm getting exposed to them. So it's turned out to be more of a give and take, when I initially thought it was just me giving.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of pure sorry, that's my brother. I didn't tell him I was on Zoom call.
It's okay.
But yeah, so that's the beauty of giving, that you don't always give, you always get something in return that you never expected.
Yes.
So
I love that.
more
Yeah,
power
that
to
you
that.
never expected. Yes, because there's so much that you can say, okay, well, I think that this may happen, but it could be completely different. And
Yeah.
but I love that you talked about kind of the the family aspect of it. So can we chat about that? Like, I'm curious, how are you kind of navigating parenting and like family structure in a different culture than what you grew up in?
Yeah, so I think it's for me, what I try to always do is stay true to myself. It's like, living in a different environment. It is, I don't want to say it's challenging, because it's not. Like, I mean, at the core, people are the same. I don't think it matters where you come from, where you live, where you grew up. Um, the basic human nature is the same. It's just the construction around and the environment around that varies, and that sort of shapes the kind of a person you are. But for me, making sure that my child learns kindness, making sure that he isn't rude to anybody, making sure he's accepting of somebody from a different background, those are extremely important to me. Also important to me is making sure that he stays true to his roots. I don't want, like, I came here when I was already like 20 30 20 years old, but my son is growing up here. He is an American, and so for him it's a different set of aspects, different struggle in terms of what he wants to pick up versus what he wants to keep. And right now he's really too young to be able to think along those lines. But as he grows up, and as he's growing, and as he has his own set of friends, I'm sure that struggle is going to be almost a daily struggle. And so what I intend to do is make sure that the core values remain the same. And at the same time, I don't think anybody should forget where they come from. It's very easy to get swayed in the environment that you are in. And it's good to adapt, right? You should always adapt, but at the same time you should make sure that you can't forget. I mean, you can't uproot yourself. You can't deny the part of life that you have spent in a different environment.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely important for me to be able to accept that, yes, this is where I come from. And there is no shame in that. There is pride in bringing something different to the table.
There's beauty in that.
There is beauty in it.
So much beauty in that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I know a lot of people who, as they come here, as they migrate here, they tend to forget or shove stuff under the rug about what it is that they do at home. Mm-hmm. They're different people at home versus they are outside. And for me, there is different aspects of it, but it's, as somebody who's on the other side, I can tell that that's not how they are when they're outside. And for me, it's I cannot be that, and I don't want to be that. And so that's what I try to state true to myself. Like, yes, I am a proud Indian, but I'm also a proud American now, and I am a mix. And that's what you will see from me. I'm going to celebrate all my Indian festivals. I'm going to celebrate the food I have. We're vegetarians. And initially I would kind of shy away from saying that, oh yeah, we're vegetarians, so don't worry about it. I'd, go to a steakhouse and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be okay with just baked potatoes for lunch. And I've come to realize that that's not how I want it to be, that I want, if I don't have a proper meal there, I want to be able to say that and, either join or ask for something to be made up or figure that out. Right. I mean, I don't want to stay hungry and still go to a steakhouse because everybody else is going.
Right.
It's those kind of struggles that they're not very obvious, but I have got, it's not a struggle, but it's that conflict that always happens. And so earlier I would be like, and I was one of them. I don't, shy away from saying that I was in a lot of ways, I was one of them. I'd be like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I'm good, whatever. And now I'm like, no, I what I say matters, if to nobody else, at least to me.
Yes.
and I don't want to let myself down. And so, I stand up for myself. And so that a lot of things are, it kind of shows in my behavior, in the way I interact. And so that's what I hope that my son learns and, appreciates and respects. And that's not true for Indians, right? It's true for everybody. Like everybody who, the United States of America is a melting pot. And, just like New York, Austin is one of those cities, which is very, very open to diversity. And I think that should be celebrated more than being looked down upon.
Absolutely. I agree with, like, at the core, we're all humans for sure. Like, and so you touched on it a little bit, but you didn't give an example. And so I'd love for you to give an example or a story, if you would, about like, what's one of your favorite, like, holidays or favorite, like, family traditions that you have that you can, like, teach us, so maybe we could show our family or expose them to it.
Yeah. One of my favorites is Holi, actually. There's quite a few, but I think the one that gets me most excited is Holi, which is the festival of colors. And so it's basically celebrated in spring. So I think it's usually like March, early March to mid-March. And what it is it's really, the festival of spring. So a lot of the farmers, they had, like, the history behind Holi is that there's all this harvest, and I could be off here. I might, need a refresher on that also. But at least what I recollect of, is that it's basically a festival where, the farmers had their harvest for the spring season. And so they wanted to celebrate it all together. And so they would, gather around, and, it's kind of a community celebration. But I think it also timed well with a historical, or I guess a mythological story, where there was this really bad, a really, really intelligent person called Ravan, he was an extremely learned man until his ego caught up to him. And so in all of that, he became a really, like, he almost became a demon. And another person called Ram, who was just as learned, stayed humble, and he kind of he was the good guy, and then Ravan was a bad guy. And so they basically clashed, and at some point Ravan lost. And so it is also like the good won over the evil.
Mhm.
And so in light of that, and a celebration of the the Ram coming back into his kingdom, they basically said, hey, let's let's burn all the bad things, or everything that we associate as bad and bad energy, and put it into a bonfire and just throw it and burn it all away, and let's start anew. And so that is one day. That's the actual festival of Holi, where a bonfire is lit. And then the very next day is a celebration where everybody is basically throwing like dry colors on each other, and you basically play with colors. And so that's for me, that spring doesn't come until it's Holi. And because it's the festival of colors, you're done with your winter grays and blues and the boring cold life, and now you're like, there's springtime and there's all these flash of colors. And so that for me is one of the most fun festivals. So it's also actually celebrated at the Barsana Dham, which is like right behind us. There's a Radha Madhav Dham. Yeah. So it's a pretty big festival, like celebration there. So we go there every year, obviously not until last year. But yeah, so that for me is, it's just, there's so much fresh energy there that I always love it. And growing up, it was not just the dry colors that we played with, right? There was all these like really oily colors that would like, so you basically, what you do is you have all these different bags of colors, and you basically take a handful of color and you apply it on the face, on the body, anywhere, like throw it in your hair, and just say happy Holi or Holi hai kind of thing. And so back home, that was how the kids played. But as we grew older, those dry colors were not fun anymore. And so there would be like these colors mixed with oil that would like really just stick onto your skin. And so the day after, you could tell that, yeah, you celebrated Holi, because your face was like a blue patch here, a pink patch here, your hair's all red. And that to me was like the quintessential, Holi celebration, where you're like, people should be able to tell you from a distance that you celebrated Holi. And so that was that's one of my most that's one of my favorite festivals. And then obviously the one that's a lot more known is Diwali, which is like the festival of lights. And that's where it's the same concept, like you're basically, there was this, so Ram, he had to, for I think some conflict with his family, he decided to give up he was the sole or he was the prodigal son who was the heir to the kingdom. But because of I think his stepmom did not want him to be the heir, and she wanted her son to be the king. She decided to send him to, like, she said, okay, you're not supposed to be here. And so the guy Ram, he basically decides to go and say, okay, I am going to stay away, don't worry about it, I'm happily going to go and live in a forest for, like, I guess a year and a half or something like that. And so he comes back, and everybody in the kingdom really wanted him because he was the good guy. And so everybody is like, very, very excited that he's going to be the new king, and there's celebration around it. And so everybody's like lighting up their phones, and they're like really happy. So it's a great time of the year for us. And for us, it's actually like a 4 or 5 day festival, sort of like our weddings. But but it's, every day holds like a different importance. And so for us, Diwali, the day of Diwali is, where it ends. And for us, the next day is a new year. But there's like 3 or 4 days prior where the celebrations begin, and it's just as it's a great time of the year to be back home. Here we celebrate it, but it's not, with all the work and the schools all still going on. It doesn't always get, we don't get the same feel unless it's a weekend.
Yeah.
But if back home, there's like an entire week of, vacation. So you actually you're pretty much doing nothing but firing crackers and lighting up diyas and all that. So obviously, that's where the family is, and that's where the fun is. But that's another festival that brings so much joy, and it makes you realize that, okay, this is another start. And so, no matter how the past year has been, let's start all over again. And that brings hope, and it brings hope both outside and on the inside. And so I enjoy that very, very much.
Ooh, very cool. Well, hopefully one day I'll be able to experience that too.
Yeah, I hope so. We do have like the Diwali dinner that we like. There's a bunch of Indians that I got. That's a WhatsApp group. This is probably where you can edit out this conversation. But there is a WhatsApp group for like Indians that I got added to recently, and so they have like Diwali dinners and stuff. So it's last year was obviously different, but it kind of gets you feeling like, okay, yeah, it's it's sort of like back home, obviously not the same, but you still can enjoy it in ways you could not before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
It's still the connection. You're still
yes,
connecting with yeah. Well, so I want to say thank you. And I know that people do want to connect with you too. So if somebody wants to connect with you, like what's the Facebook page or the IG, all the things I'm not cool enough to know about, but so they can connect.
Yeah. So I think I am not cool enough to be on IG as well. So I only have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/donate-and-eat. That's the Dona-eat page. And yeah, you can follow it, like it, whatever you feel like. I try to, I try not to like advertise it as much, because I really want like people who actually benefit from it to be able to, follow it and like it and all of that. I prefer to let what I'm doing speak for itself, instead of kind of asking all my relatives to like the page. So but yeah, that's where Dona-eat resides. And it's you're absolutely welcome to try the food, donate it in any way you can. It obviously doesn't help, I mean, I guess it helps me, but it helps a lot more people who really need it. And so it's always appreciated very much.
Yes, absolutely. It's a win-win.
Yes, it's a happy situation to be in.
Okay, well, thank you so much. It was great chatting. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much for interviewing. I guess interviewing is the wrong word, but thank you for bringing me here. Yeah, just chatting. And I really appreciate it. And it was great getting to know you, and about your mom, your nonprofit as well.
Oh, thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you so much.